ENCA has reliably learnt that Mmusi Maimane is set to resign as the DA leader within hours. This follows a scathing report about his election performance. The DA's federal executive is meeting east of Johannesburg to discuss the immediate future of the outgoing Johannesburg Mayor Herman Mashaba. Mashaba announcing his resignation after Helen Zille was appointed Federal Council Chair. That obviously and the Maimane decision to resign. Political reporter Samkeli Maseku begins our coverage on the story this afternoon. Samkeli, good afternoon to you. So we almost are certain now that he is going to step down come 3 o'clock this afternoon. We have impeccable sources in that respect.
Yes, indeed, Jeremy. Our sources have told us that indeed the DA leader, Mmusi Maimane, will be stepping down as the party's leader today. It's not yet clear whether he'll be leaving in his entirety as a member of the Democratic Alliance, just like Herman Mashaba. If that is the case, he would also relinquish his seat in the National Assembly and not become a backbencher of the party in Parliament. So at this point in time, he is leaving as the leader of the Democratic Alliance, but it's not clear what will happen to his seat in Parliament, or will he move and become a backbencher in the National Assembly. Inside the federal executive of the Democratic Alliance, which is currently taking place here at Nkululeko House, the headquarters of the DA, they are deliberating on those issues but have not yet arrived on the issue of Mmusi Maimane and what happens to him when he makes that announcement at 3 o'clock, whether he also relinquishes his seat in the National Assembly. But he is leaving and resigning as the leader of the Democratic Alliance, as per the recommendation of the panel review report that said he must step down due to the party's dismal performance at the polls in the 2019 general elections.
Now, ahead of those deliberations, he also met with Helen Zille earlier today, the newly installed federal chair.
Yes, indeed. He did meet with the newly installed federal chair this morning to deliberate on the agenda of the federal executive meeting, to speak about the panel review recommendations and report and the content of its implementation, as the Federal Council of the Democratic Alliance did endorse certain aspects of that report, and it's all about implementation now. And as you know, that the new federal chairperson of Council of the DA is the person who is in the day-to-day running of the Democratic Alliance and is the enforcer of these particular recommendations of the DA, of this particular report commissioned by FedEx, and also to speak about the resignation of Johannesburg Executive Mayor Councillor Herman Mashaba, and whether the DA would give Herman Mashaba these 30 days until the 27th of November, when his resignation from the party and all positions of the party and as a councillor in the city of Johannesburg is effective. So those are the issues that are being deliberated upon in this meeting. Earlier on, speaking to Helen Zille, she did confirm to ENCA that she has not yet received Mmusi Maimane's resignation as the leader of the party when she was going into their meeting.
All right, Samkeli Maseku, you'll stick with that story like glue. Live at DA headquarters in Bruma, east of Johannesburg, political commentator Karima Brown. Good afternoon to you. Fait accompli, then he is toast. Where did it go wrong?
Well, Helen Zille stuck to her lane so much she drove him off the road. It was never going to work, Jeremy. I said so on Sunday when she, took the position of federal chair. It's an incredibly powerful position. She has her hands on the entire machinery of the DA. And, of course, she is diametrically opposed to Mmusi Maimane's view of how to grow the party. The issue of the diversity clause, which Helen said that she had regretted supporting, was something that Mmusi said he was the most proud of. But I think the writing was finally on the wall for us when he was standing next to Herman Mashaba, the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, when he resigned, talking about him as his friend. And of course, Samkeli telling us, it's incredibly strange that the leader of a party would stand next to
It was an astonishing political image, because both lifting his hand in exaltation in many ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, the writing was completely on the wall. My sources tell me, Jeremy, that Mmusi Maimane actually wanted to resign on Saturday night already. A delegation was apparently sent to him. As you know, they had that FedEx council meeting. But here's the interesting thing. So the million-dollar question is, who's going to replace Mmusi Maimane? Now, there was a name that was being put forward, Mr. Bongani Baloyi, who is the DA leader in Midvaal. They did very well in Midvaal, and it's a district municipality. municipality. But as I was driving here, getting the call that I need to come in, I was told that Mr. Baloyi has in fact turned that position down. So it's going to be very interesting to see who exactly the DA is going to get, because it looks as if the black caucus in the DA has consolidated. And if anyone takes the position, their credibility with black supporters as well as black membership of the DA will of course be up for questioning. And as you know, race is something that the DA simply couldn't deal with. They couldn't get on the same page, and it looks as if it's now one of the many reasons why the party is imploding.
We've got to be, you used the word imploding, I'll be a little politer than that. We must be heading towards a split, surely.
Absolutely. Look, I think that Mmusi was mulling several options. If you look at the fact that he had the support of a lot of the provincial chairs, certainly when you and I were on air, John Moody came out and threw his weight behind him. And, you know, when Mmusi addressed the council press conference post Helen's ascendancy again, he said, we want the DA to be a home for all. That's why we want it in Gauteng. So a lot of us who were watching the party developments thought that he wanted to use Gauteng as a base, you know, to get a discussion going and possibly win at a policy conference, which was scheduled to happen before the end of the year. Now, at that policy conference, the DA had to resolve its identity around a whole range of things. And I think Mmusi thought that he could kind of, you know, perhaps launch a comeback. But I think given how firmly Helen has come back, not just to take over the position, but with a ready-made plan. I mean, if you've heard her on the various radio station, television stations, she's got a plan, she's going to implement it. There is no space for Mmusi.
The obvious question would be, all of this is happening so quickly. It's not happening quickly. This has surely been months in the making. There's been a lot of behind-the-scenes manoeuvring. Absolutely.
When the attack on the DA leadership came, it of course came from the think tank, the Institute for International, or rather Race Relations, and there people started attacking the policy positions of Mmusi, and the resignation of Gwen Ngwenya, the then policy head of the DA, was kind of a very crystallizing moment about the divergence that you had in the party. And I had Gwen Ngwenya on the fix 2 weeks ago, and she said Mmusi had, you know, veered off the party's position on the diversity clause, on the social grants issue, and on the land question. Now, remember, the DA also lost votes to the Freedom Front Plus, and of course it also lost votes to the left of itself. Now, here's the question that the DA leadership has to answer, Jeremy. If they want to be a governing party beyond the Western Cape, are the votes that they've shaven off to the Freedom Front Plus going to take them there? And the answer is no. So what is the plan for black townships, and more importantly for black leadership? And until we have an answer to that, the DA is going to be sitting in the opposition benches for a very, very long time.
All right, Karima Brown, thank you very much indeed. Whichever way you're viewing this afternoon, let me tell you that you will have a front row seat on this very dramatic story.